Hi, I'm Eric the Security Guy. Today we're going to talk about malware, ransomware, and antivirus software. Malware is short for malicious software. It's a broad category that includes any software designed to disrupt, damage, or gain unauthorized access to a computer system. Malware can be used to sabotage industrial control systems, distribute spam, steal information and hold it ransom, and to spy on people. It's used by criminals, and it also has applications in cyber warfare. Today I'm going to focus on malware from an individual and small business perspective, so we'll be talking primarily about spyware and ransomware. Spyware ranges significantly in terms of capability and sophistication. In general, spyware is malware designed to gather data from your computer or other device and forward it to a third party without your consent. Some spyware focuses on the websites you visit and injects advertising, while other spyware can monitor your screen, keystrokes, steal files and other data, and even turn on your webcam and microphone to monitor what's going on in the environment. Ransomware is a very different kind of malware. Unlike spyware, ransomware, as the name implies, is used by criminals to hold your computer and the data it contains for ransom. It's unfortunately becoming increasingly common because it allows criminals to directly monetize their activities. There are several different strains of ransomware, but in general, ransomware encrypts the data on your computer using a key that you don't have, and then the criminal offers to sell you the key you need to decrypt your data and continue using your computer. Some ransomware will also encrypt data on external drives connected to your computer and network shares as well, so it's possible for a single ransomware infection to impact a large amount of data on a home or business network. There are several ways that your computer, phone, or other device can be infected by malware. For example, it's possible that an application or operating system flaw could allow a virus or worm to move from computer to computer. But today, if your computer becomes infected, chances are that it happened in one of two ways. The first is through your web browser. It could be as simple as you accidentally downloading and installing malware, or it could be more complicated. For example, an email could trick you into visiting a hostile website that uses a flaw in your web browser to install malware. The second is through an email attachment. Common ploys include sending a file that at first glance looks like an invoice or other important document, or a zip file, but it contains malware. Criminals will write anything that they think will trick users into opening the file. In either case, the malicious file usually contains a small program that downloads and installs malware onto your computer. It could install self-contained malware, or it could install a small program that periodically checks in with a criminal server on the internet. This is often referred to as a command and control server, and waits for further instructions. Malware is big business for criminals. While individual criminals are certainly out there, there's actually an entire criminal ecosystem around ransomware as well as other cyber crimes. For example, some criminals specialize in writing and selling malware, while others focus on compromising as many computers as possible and install malware as a service to other criminals. There are 4 things that you should do to protect yourself, your family, and your business from malware. The first line of protection is your behavior. I'll talk about antivirus software in a moment, but it's a mistake to believe that any security software can stop all malware. If you think about it, it makes sense. Computers generally allow you to install software of your choice. If you choose to install malware, or you're unfortunately tricked into it, antivirus software may not be able to tell the difference. So, how do you avoid malware? First, don't visit sketchy websites and don't download software unless you're absolutely positive you're downloading it from a reputable source. Criminals are constantly improving their techniques, including setting up websites and sending emails related to current events, celebrities, sporting events, etc. It's much like other aspects of life. If you visit seedy places and you go looking for trouble, you'll find it. We need to exercise caution with email. Many organizations now block some types of attachments. My prediction is this type of blocking will increase. So if you regularly need to exchange files with people, you might consider using a service like Google Drive, Microsoft SharePoint, Dropbox, or one of the other many services available for file exchange. It's really difficult to stress this enough. Malicious email attachments are widespread. While good email services are doing their best to protect their users, we all need to be very careful with email attachments and links within email. The second thing you can do to protect yourself is to back up your data. I'll cover backups in more detail in another video, but the important takeaway here is that ransomware is only one of many things that can go wrong. You can accidentally delete the wrong file, your drive can fail, your computer could be stolen, or you can have a particularly bad day and accidentally drop your computer down a flight of stairs. The ultimate protection against all of these scenarios is a good backup system. You can back up your files to an external drive that you disconnect after the backup to protect the backup files. But in my experience, this approach isn't practical for most people. Unless we're really disciplined, our well-intentioned plan to regularly back up our computer tends to get forgotten. The best solution is usually an online backup service that automatically backs up your computer across the internet. The best backup services just require you to install the backup software and leave it on autopilot from there. Third, most malicious websites and a lot of malware requires DNS lookups to convert a host name to an IP address. For those not familiar with DNS, when you type google.com into your web browser, your computer needs to find the IP address to connect to, and DNS provides that answer. As a result, a DNS firewall service can help reduce the chances of a malware infection, among other things. If you live in Canada, Sierra provides a free DNS firewall service called Canadian Shield. OpenDNS, owned by networking giant Cisco, is another option. These services basically work by blocking or redirecting DNS queries from malicious websites. They're not foolproof, but they can certainly help. And last, there's antivirus or anti-malware software. This type of software falls into a category that we call endpoint protection software. I've included it last on this list for a few reasons. Many endpoint protection vendors want you to believe that their software will make you impervious to malware. Of course, they won't guarantee it, but the way it's marketed often gives people the impression that it's all they need to stay safe. Nothing could be further from the truth. As I've already mentioned, your first line of protection is your online behavior, and backups are critical because they protect your data from a wide variety of scenarios. Endpoint protection software is important, but we should consider it a last line of defense. If we make a mistake, if all else fails, it will hopefully protect us. One of the questions I get a lot is, which antivirus software should I buy? And that's a really tough question. There are a lot of endpoint protection products out there, and many of them are good. But when it comes to protection from malware, there are fundamentally two technical approaches, and it's important to understand these when you're selecting a product. Traditional anti-malware products use a signature-based approach. If you use one, you've probably noticed that it needs to download frequent updates from the internet, often daily. These updates include new malware signatures. In general, signature-based products examine files looking for signatures of known malware. The advantage of this approach is that false positives, while they do happen, are rare. The disadvantage to this approach is that if the vendor hasn't created and distributed a signature for a new malware strain, it probably won't be detected. Some newer products use artificial intelligence, primarily machine learning, to detect malware. The advantage of this approach is that the products are able to detect many malware variants, even if it's the first time they've been seen. In other words, they don't need a predefined signature to detect a specific piece of malware. The downside is that machine learning-based products tend to have a little higher false positive rate. Some products combine multiple approaches, but for performance reasons, it's often undesirable to both search each file for a signature and apply machine learning techniques. Unfortunately, some hybrid claims are from traditional antivirus vendors trying to portray a more modern approach. In addition to choosing between signature-based and machine learning endpoint protection, there are two other important considerations. First, if you're a Microsoft Windows customer, you already have Windows Defender on your computer. It's included as part of your Windows license. People think it's free? No, it's not free. You've paid for it. Defender is primarily a signature-based product, but it generally rates well in competitive evaluations. If you're a regular home user, don't engage in high-risk online behavior, and are exceptionally careful about not clicking on links in emails, and you have a backup of your computer, it might be all you need. On the other hand, if you're running a business, have teenagers surfing the web, or own Apple computers, you might consider another solution. Your Windows computer could come with a trial version of third-party antivirus software, or the store you bought it from might have recommended or installed it. Unfortunately, many of these products have great marketing. Be afraid, be very afraid, but they fail to provide a significantly higher level of protection than Windows Defender. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I often see people who've purchased relatively expensive antivirus subscriptions that come bundled with a bunch of other software that they don't need, yet they're not backing up their computer. And that's a real mistake. Backups are a much higher priority. If you have Apple computers, which don't include anti-malware software, or if you'd like a higher level of protection for Windows, then you might want to consider a modern AI-based product. The second consideration is whether you want or need centralized reporting from your endpoint protection product. Being able to log into a web portal, check to make sure that the software is up to date on all of your computers, and review any malware detections can be very helpful, especially if you're not the only users of the computers. If you're going to pay for malware protection for your business or your family, you might want that capability. The endpoint protection market is changing rapidly. Business users have a number of good products to choose from and should do their research carefully. For families and small businesses without an IT staff, my favorite product, the one I use for my family, is Cylance Smart Antivirus from Blackberry Cylance. It's a machine learning-based product, covers multiple operating systems, provides a useful central web console, and the price is hard to beat. Their regular price is $99 US a year to protect up to 10 computers, and they usually have a pretty big discount for your first year. Note that this video is not sponsored by Blackberry Cylance, but if you're watching, I'm a big fan. Give me a call. Finally, a very common question I see a lot is, my computer is infected by a virus, what should I do? If your antivirus software reports that it has quarantined or otherwise blocked malware, and that's the only thing that's concerning you, you're probably okay. Some anti-malware software has a function to scan your entire computer, and this would be a good time to use it. On the other hand, if your antivirus software continues to report malware, or it's obvious that your computer is infected, in other words, malware is actually running on your computer, then it's time to back up your files to an external drive and reinstall your operating system. While that is a time-consuming process, it is the most reliable way to remove malware. Thank you so much for watching today's video. please help me out by subscribing to my channel and clicking like on this video. If you have any questions or are there any topics you'd like me to cover, please leave a comment below. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next video.